Welcome to another episode of What's Your Story? And who do we have with us today?
Name's James, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I work with Josh. So
All
pretty
right.
excited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And this is one of my favorite people, I honestly have to say. So, what we're doing today is what the premise of the whole entire channel is. What's your story? We want to bring people together from all different walks of life: rich, poor, fat, skinny, black, white, what have you. And we want to get people to open up about things that they've been through in their life, so they see that they're not alone. And they can click on our channel and they can get inspired and they can have some motivation to keep living their life no matter how hard it is. I'm just trying to, or we're just trying to, excuse me, we're just trying to push out positivity pretty much with this channel. James knows this. We've had this idea cooking for a while, and he came to me and he wanted to share his story, his personal story. And you got the floor. Let's go ahead and let everybody know.
All right. Well, when I was, man, it's so hard to even tell it because it starts from when I was, born. I don't remember life any differently or any other way. I guess I could start from when I first started seeing, the things that I was seeing and what I was seeing. So when I was maybe 3 or 4, my mom started to see that something was a little different or a little, off, or maybe a little, unique about me compared to other kids. But she just thought maybe that I was, slow in growing up and doing other things that people were doing, just taking it at my own pace. But it soon found out that that wasn't the case. I would do a lot of things, a lot of signs when I was a kid. Like my hands would shake, or I'd flap my hands a lot, and I'd get really excited, or I'd get emotional really quick. So we had, I had gotten taken to the doctor because my mom was like, something needs to, I got to get a diagnosis on my son for what's going on, because I have no idea, nobody's telling me anything that's going on. So she had no help from anybody. So I brought a whole stack of papers with me, and as Josh seen, he told me to bring some papers with me. He didn't expect it to be this much, but I got my first diagnosis with me from when I think it was when I was 5 years old. And it says, James is diagnosed with anxiety, ADHD, and depressive disorder. And if you know what anxiety is, you know what depressive disorder is, you know what ADHD is. That was just the start in the beginning of what was going on with me. You know what I mean? So my mom was like, yeah, but could it be autism? Could he have Asperger's syndrome? And they were like, no, he's too affectionate. He likes to give people hugs. He likes to talk to people. Get in, interact with people. And here's how I think about it now: is me and Josh are two different colors. Me and Josh are two different types of people, two different types of personality, two different type of culture, two different types of way of growing up, two different types of everything. On the spectrum of autism, there's people that are different no matter what they were diagnosed with. So even though, you know, my mom was like, why can't he be diagnosed with this? Why couldn't he be different from all the other ones, that have had this? Why does it have to be clumped up in one? So the doctors kept on dismissing it, said that's not the case. He does not have that. So my mom kept on going on, thinking, okay, he just has ADHD, anxiety. And growing up, definitely the anxiety was definitely the worst part of my childhood. You know what I mean? In class, I would have anxiety and I'd be talking to the teacher. There's many reports in my papers about me having anxiety in class. This was a writing that I did in 6th grade. It says, I'm in the 6th grade. I was struggling, and today I'm still struggling. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder and harder every day until it feels like you're about to crack. So you do, and you get sent to the office every day. I don't know why these things happen to me or why these things keep happening to me. I'm very upset. Now, I was in 6th grade writing about this stuff. Obviously there was concern, from people, what's going on. So finally, we went up to my doctor at the time. His name was Dr. Lee. Now, this has stuck with me through childhood all the way now. I'm 21 years old. This has never left my mind. And if anybody else has heard this, know that you can relate to my story on this sense. He was like, I was looking with a bunch of colleagues about this, and we think it's Asperger's syndrome, like my mother said. And he said, like my mother said, there's all different types of people, all different types of, types of autism. So we believe he has that. And then where it got a little bit crazier was he said to my mother, while I was 7 years old, he said, your son, by the time he's 13, is going to be living in a home. And he is not going to be able to do sports. He's not really going to be able to, associate or make friends with other people with with the diagnosis that he has. And my mom, being a religious person that she is, said, I rebuke that and I don't believe that, because I know my son can be more than that. And in my mind, I'm hearing an adult tell a child that he's not going to be nothing and he's going to be in a home.
Yeah, super young.
Young,
Yeah.
that's me telling a kid who has a dream about something that there's no way he's going to be able to do it. That mentally affects a kid to a whole different level. So I spend my days, and it doesn't affect me in a bad way. I spend my days proving people wrong, trying to prove myself. But anyway, back on the path of going through school with this diagnosis, I finally figured out what was going on with me. My mom went to the library, found books, and was like, this is my son, started crying. And at the school, they were putting me through a whole bunch of tests. Um, and I have tests on me from when I was 3 years old all the way till I was 10 years old. So it said in the report that James often seems to be lonely in class and have a lot of anxiety and wishes he weren't alive anymore. And that was when I was 6 years old, hearing those things being written down. And I'm like, what was going through my mind when I was 6 years old to have that stuff happen to me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have another report. Just a couple things that I went through just to really show you was James always had trouble completing tasks. The radio on, a lot of noise around him. He does not respond his name when he's called, even though his hearing is okay. James frequently responds negatively to loud, unexpected noises. Common occurrences, in autism. People with autism don't like loud noises, but it's different through a lot of people. He expresses discomfort in loud noises, going to the dentist, because that stuff freaked me out when I was a kid with all those loud noises. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. The drills and everything.
The drills, yeah.
Yeah.
Even
yeah.
people now don't even like that stuff. But
Yeah.
now this was a story that they had done a test on me that was very tough on us. When I was a kid, we had a lot of people coming into the house, out of the house, adopting and different things like that. My little brother's adopted, and we've had him now since he was a baby all the way now he's 15, and he's been officially ours since he was a kid. But we had a little boy, and we were all playing outside. I watched it happen where he climbs up on a picnic table, he falls off, and he breaks his arm. So at the time, there was a child protective services that took care of all the legal issues for the courthouse and stuff like that when you're adopting. So they came and took him away. And the biggest fear of mine when I was a kid was my family getting taken away from me, or me getting taken away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the stories that I had here was Um, James, on the subject, he became aware that CYS was a thing. So it goes from the story. It says James was pleasant and in a good mood and was cooperative. It was observed that James was very polite and exhibited excellent manners. James referred to the examiner as ma'am and repeatedly pointed out examiner that he was using good manners. Once James entered the testing area, his demeanor changed. So this makes sense to me, not even hearing this story in a long time. When I entered a different room or a different environment that seemed scary to me, my whole demeanor changed about myself. Uh, Once James entered the testing center, his demeanor changed. The first question asked in the clinical interview was if he liked school, and then it says James's eyes welled with tears, and reported that he was worried that CYS was coming to take him. He asked the examiner if she was from CYS, and the examiner tried to further question James on the subject. He became aware that other people were in the room. So, you know, it's crazy because I feel myself back in that moment with those people in the room and how scared I was because I didn't know any better and I didn't know things how I know them now. And that was just a scary thing for me to have to go through. And another thing that happened later on that really puts the emphasis on the school district that I was in was I had a person whose name was Megan Van Fossen, and I'll call her out because of the things that she actually did to me. I was deathly afraid of the police and of security, all those things, because um, my brother had gone through a lot when he was younger. He's a pastor now. All my brothers are pastors, but he went through some legal trouble when he was a kid, and they had came to the house sometime and they had took him away. Again,
Reverts back to
reverts back. It
yeah.
all trauma reverts back to a specific area um, most of the time. And so I walk in the office and Megan Van Foss is like, before we start, I just want to bring somebody in here, and brings in a police officer. And they knew because it was wrote down that I was scared of the police. Why in the world would you do that to a kid?
And how old were you when this
I
happened?
was 6 or 7 years old. And
And what was her reasoning for bringing this cop in?
she said that so she can just show me, what could so she could feel safe and to show me that um you keep on being bad or messing around but I know the reason that it was for. She was very to intimidate children, to intimidate people, and I could say that willingly because it was targeted people.
Do you think it was more of a scared straight type of thing, like kind of like the show, like, oh, we're gonna scare him straight, we're gonna scare him to behave correctly?
I'm sure there was things that were pure about it, truly, but I don't believe part of it was pure. I really do believe it was just for malicious intent of to get a reaction or see my reaction. Maybe it was, but at the time it just seemed like a malicious intent.
Yeah, being that you were so young and she did that, I mean, it do seem pretty malicious because you were only a kid, bro. And you were a little kid at that. It's not like you were like, 12,
Right,
13,
right,
going into your teenage years and
right.
puberty and stuff. You were like
I was
a
little.
kid, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, an
I didn't
actual
know
kid.
nothing, better or less. I was coming into myself. I was coming to, better understand myself and the diagnosis that I had been given. And so those two people throughout my life, Dr. Lee, Megan Van Fossen, were my, when people tell you something, when Dr. Lee told me that I was going to be in a home, I always say people take two paths in their life when they're told something like that. They either follow it and they end up down exactly where that person said, or that person says, screw you, I'm going to make my own life.
And how old were you when he told you that? I meant
I
to
was
ask that
5 or
earlier.
6 years old.
You was 5 or 6 around that same time, so
Yeah.
you had a lot of this stuff going on around the same age.
And I might be getting the dates or my age mixed up, but it was all around that time.
I'm about to say, but it was you. You remember that you were still little though.
I
That's the
remember that
biggest thing.
specifically.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's crazy.
And my mom would have to go through so much when I was a kid. I'd ask her at night. My anxiety was the worst. I'd be afraid to eat because I felt like that they were from the school district, from the people that I have already experienced in my life. I thought they were poisoning my food. That's how.
It's crazy to even think that because you were afraid of the people that were supposed to protect you, and then to be a little kid and feel like they didn't even protect you, they did the opposite. I know that got to be a tough feeling, bro.
Could you imagine, being a kid thinking that people are poisoning you because they're that against you or that after you? So I didn't eat. I went from like 90 pounds to like 40 pounds. I was like, and that math might be off, but I was looking deathly sick. And the doctor said, I broke my arm at the time. The doctor said, you got to do something about this or he's going to die from, you got to make him eat. Always my parents' fault.
Yeah.
It was always my parents' fault.
And I was going to ask that. How did your parents take all this news?
My mom, and I will say this, my mom always was the one to help me out. So they always, when I say my parents' fault, it was my parents' fault to the doctor's eyes or the school's eyes or nothing they were doing, not being patient, nothing like that. So when I was a kid, I was afraid of getting, poison when I ate. Finally, I got over that. Thank goodness, But I'd also lay in bed at night and I'd ask my mom, I said, Mom, am I going to wake up in the morning? Because I don't know if I am. That fear,
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to say. You know what I mean?
Definitely. It's hard for a mother to hear too.
And that's the biggest factor on my mother. But going through school, the turning points where I switched my life around, because a lot of people, if I'm just talking right now, during this interview, I might be a little nervous, stuff like that. But if I'm out in a regular area situation, and if I ever bring it up to somebody, which is rare, if I ever bring it up to somebody, they'll be like, "Are you kidding? Are you serious? I could have never told, that you had something like that." I mean, Josh, could you have when I was?
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, I don't think anyone could until you got comfortable with everybody and then you started to open up a little bit more and actually saying that to certain people.
Right.
Like before then, definitely not. Bro.
Exactly. So the turning points for me to change what I was doing was I was in Dr. Lee's office and he told me that, which I was like, at that point, I was like, dude, screw you. That's not happening. I'm just telling you right now. My mother told him that it wasn't going to happen. And he said, that's what all parents say. He said that to my mom after that too.
Yeah, that's wild.
Then I went into the class, and this part's kind of funny, but I went into the classroom and they said, James, we got something here to help you out. And this was when I knew I was really screwed. I had to make a change or I was messed up for life. You know what I mean? But they brought me in the classroom and they were like, we're going to give you this vest to wear. I was like, oh.
Vest to wear?
And it was a vest that like was tight around you, so it made you move less. If that makes sense. You know how a weighted blanket works at nighttime?
Yeah.
Same concept. And I said to myself, I don't want that. I'm done with this. I said, that is so, to me, and not saying this to anybody else that needs it or needs that thing, because I'm not degrading those people. But me at the time, hearing what I heard from those people that I was not going to be nothing like that, I was like, I don't need this. And I'm in serious trouble if y'all are offering me this right now, and I need to change my life around. So from grade maybe 7, 8 grade, I completely switched my life around. And a big part of it was moving here to South Carolina, because I grew up in Pittsburgh, moving down here to South Carolina and starting to lift weights. Changed my life forever. High school came around and I was in IEP my whole life, which was special classes to help, people. And my senior year, I said, this is my final step. This is my final step where I prove myself. So I got off IEP and I got the best grades of my school career off IEP. So I basically proved that, you know what I mean? And some of the other things that were diagnosed to me was motor skills, high function motor skills, activity. I'll just, um, yeah, right there. I just wanted to remember that.
What about, not
Yeah,
to cut you off, but
no, go
what about weightlifting? What about weightlifting you love so much that inspired you to be like, all right, I can use this as a tool to help me improve my life?
It wasn't even it inspired me. It was like, okay, so when you lift weights, it takes energy away from you. It takes because you work out and you feel, oh, I'm ready to go home, go to bed. So my ADHD and all that other stuff was basically eliminated at that point.
Yeah.
After I got done with the hard workout, how can you, move
Yeah.
around, stuff like that. But also the camaraderie of it, the brotherhood of it, coming around my friends. Football helped me big time. Football helped me. But the defined motor skills and all that stuff that they were talking about, and not to flex, but I'm going to, because if they're listening, I'm going to do that shit right now.
Yeah.
So, now I have my own vehicle. I bought my own vehicle. I got my own motorcycle. I'm about to graduate college. I've got a good credit score, which is important.
Very.
And, exactly.
Very important.
And I played the drums for a heavy metal band. Shout out Bull Python.
Hey,
But yes, sir. But I got, all those motor skills that they said, no way a doctor could have told me I was going to be playing the drums.
Yeah.
No, that takes every part of your body to do and motor skills to do. So all those things that they said I'd never accomplish, I have accomplished. So, where are those doctors now? Where are those teachers now? I want to see them.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I mean?
I honestly hope that this does very well, and I do hope that it reaches their eyes.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, and I hope it reaches their eyes. Honestly, excuse me, through like their children. You know what I'm saying? They be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
look at this," da, da. Or maybe when you mention their name,
yeah,
her kid to see it and be like, "Oh, mom, he's talking about you," or "Oh, dad, he's talking about you." Being that
right.
They were a doctor and a teacher and stuff.
I never wish no harm on those people or like foul intent. I don't hope they don't get fired, nothing like that.
Yeah.
I hope they see it though and change. Like Dr. Lee, for example, don't tell kids what they're going to be. Help them to become what they will be. Help them. You know what I mean? Don't tell them what they're going to be, their future. You don't know somebody's future, predetermined, predestined. That's what he was doing, was predestining my future. How do you do that to somebody? Megan Van Fossen wasn't patient. Be more patient with the kids. Be patient enough to know that kid has something going on behind the scenes that you have no idea about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and there are things, not saying I always like to make a joke that I beat autism.
Yeah.
that I cured it. I cured autism.
Yeah.
Just making a joke about that. But no, there's still some things that I do that I'm like, okay, I still do that. One is I'll hyperfixate on things. Like there will be tell me if you like this is weird to you. I'll be walking through. I work at Pirates Voyage now, talking to a whole bunch of people. That's another thing. I talk to a whole bunch of people daily. I walk through the kitchen and one of our friends will lean down and I'll see his tattoo and I'll be like, oh, that's a cool tattoo, and then I'll keep walking. You know what I mean? Like weird stuff like that, just fixating on that stuff. Or dating has been.
I'm about to say, yeah. How is dating? Not that weird to older James, done with younger James, and all of that stuff. So how was grown up James?
Starting off dating was tough. I had this girlfriend, which in my defense, I was great. No doubt about it. In my defense, I was great, but there was a couple things that I worried about from my past, like, do you really care about me, or do you really, are you gonna stick around, because all those people didn't believe in me. So you need somebody that really believes in you, really. But now, all that past, I don't hate that person. I don't, whatever.
Of course
But
not. That's life. You
it is what it
yeah,
is.
exactly.
It
That's
is
life.
what it is.
Yeah.
But now I'm coming a little bit more on my own, less dating, more just, talking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But college has really opened that door up for me, which I've been on a good bit of dates now since then, and
Yeah.
had a good time with that. But I'd say, like, dating wise, anybody with autism, it's like it's hard enough to deal with yourself to then deal with somebody else or or talk to somebody else. But more and more, every time I date somebody, now I don't know if I'm looking for a committed relationship or not. You know what I mean? I'm just
Yeah.
out there having
You
fun.
playing the field.
Exactly right.
Yes, sir.
But once I am ready to settle down, I'll be ready for that because I've experienced those things and I'm ready for that. So
And to anybody that has or has been through what you've been through, or maybe even be diagnosed with the same thing as you, just give a little insight on college life. Like, how is
yeah,
college life for you? Is it more? Does it feel more challenging when you look at other people or anything, or like how do you personally feel?
actually, it's a complete opposite from school. That high school that I had, it has been 20 times better. I've gotten the dean's list 4 times,
Okay.
and I've done good in my classes, and it's because the professors care about you. Some professors, you know what I mean. Some
Yeah,
of us
no, I
don't do their
definitely do.
job. I ain't gonna
Yeah.
call them out because I'm still in school, but
Yeah.
now my professors, my professors, they seem to care a little bit more. The ones that actually care. So when I talk to them, how excited I am for the class and all that, either they're thinking I'm a kiss ass or like this guy actually cares, which I do. So I end up being the best student in the class, or they talk to me, or you know, uh, like I'll go out and see one at lunch. We'll sit down and have lunch. I mean, we've gotten even that close. I get very. That's another thing that I think is even more testament to autism is different. I am very personal and sentimental. Like I've said to you multiple times, Josh, if we were in a situation, and it's like maybe it's too early to say that or anything, but I would literally die for you. I would die for my
Yeah.
friends, and that's real. That's real because I connect so hard with the people that I'm around. You are one of those people, you know what I mean?
Thank you, man.
And it's true. And everybody who knows me knows that. I have my buddy Gavin, my buddy Joseph, Trip, Tucker, and Caleb. All those guys know that I would die for those guys, and I would be there if they called me at 3 a.m. Anything they need, because I'm personal like that. I
Yeah.
love my friends, love my family.
And it seems like everything that we're talking about would also help you be successful, that I've noticed from talking to you. You got a good support system, bro. Like your
Yeah,
mom, like when you're talking about your mom being religious and never giving up, I feel like your mom is a big reason why you are the man that you are today.
absolutely.
She never gave up. And of course, that's hard for a mom to just accept something like that. And I appreciate her resilience, and I appreciate her faith, really. You know what I'm saying? And never giving up on you,
Yeah,
because everybody lives in a different situation, bro.
right,
Like, it's people there that just, if they heard that, they would give up on their kid, and they'll let their kid,
right,
like you said, fall down that path that the doctor already predicted was going to happen.
right.
And because they give up so easily, they don't think that they can do anything to revert that. You know what I'm saying? So,
While I got this moment right now, like you said, I'm gonna say it right now. My mom is one of the best people that's ever been in my life and will ever be in my life. Helps me out, the greatest mom ever. I love my mom so much, and I could not do it without my mom. My mom has truly been there for everything and has supported me through everything, and I just love her so much.
and she deserves that,
Yeah,
bro.
she does.
She deserves
She
that.
likes you too, Josh. She knows it.
I'm about to say, I always tell you to tell her I say hello whenever you
Yeah.
see her and stuff.
Yeah.
She's a very pleasant lady. And I do and I can see that spirit in her, bro.
Yeah.
Like, she really cares. Like the night we were all out for your birthday,
I don't even remember that night.
Oh,
I mean, honestly,
that means you had a good birthday.
yeah, it was a good birthday. It was a good
That means
birthday.
you had a good birthday. But she was like, I told her, I was like, I love James. I'm gonna make sure James get home safe.
Yeah.
You do not have to worry about that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not whatsoever. Like, I have
Right.
I got you for sure. So she definitely deserves that credit, especially after hearing the story. And like I said, knowing that she never gave up, bro. She was resilient. She prayed. She stuck through in her faith. And look at you now. They said you were going to be in a group home at 13. Now you're in college. You've made the dean's list. You're cool with your professors. Like, honestly, I would love to, wherever this channel goes or wherever our journey takes us, I would love to just bump into one of those, that doctor or that teacher.
There's
Honestly, interview them, to be real.
Yep, there's a line. Hey, get in the back of the line.
Yeah.
I got a lot to go through. Let me just tell you that. That's what I tell them. Get in the back of the line.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what
man.
I mean? Back to college and partying, like you said, because my birthday brought up that is college with it. It's no different than my regular day-to-day life. When I go to Pirates or when I go places like that, is I made tons of friends in college, went to a good bit of college parties, dated a good bit of girls in college.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's been great. It's been great.
Also, one thing I did want to touch on as well, I meant to earlier, but that doesn't matter. Also, with them trying to figure out what was going on with you, where was the state of like the knowledge about autism and how big it is, like as far as the spectrum?
Right. Well,
like what was the knowledge of that, or in the world at the time?
It's kind of crazy that you brought that up, because it's like it's more and more. It was more unknown back then than it is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More back then, if you seen a kid who was visibly disabled, you know what I mean? Visibly disabled, people would be more patient with those kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you can visibly see it. Yeah.
But kids like me, well, he's just outbursting and needs to be put in his place because he's just doing that for no reason. That's how it was. They didn't know nothing about it back then.
Yeah.
And it was rough because they were very, I mean, you look at some of the interviews of people, even from the 90s, it was, I seen a video with Sylvester Stallone the other day. His son had autism, and they called it I think they called it a dangerous illness, or a like clinically dangerous illness, something like that. Like it was huge and up, like really bad.
Yeah.
And
it had a negative connotation.
It had a very negative.
Because they didn't understand it.
And that's another reason that I have a little bit of leeway on those people nowadays, is because I get it. It's a different thing. You know, it's like when, honestly, it's kind of weird that it relates, but when people see magic, our first instinct is to, jump back a little bit because it's the unknown. We don't know what that is about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like autism was the same thing for them. It was unknown. So it's like,
they just assumed it was dangerous. If they don't know it, they just assume it's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
That's a human trait. That's
a
human thing.
It's a very human trait, and I got treated as such, that I was dangerous or unstable, or emotionally a wreck, or things like that. When probably the things that were making me emotionally, a wreck were these people telling you these things, and that truly was it.
Yeah, saying all the negative things.
Right.
To you. All right, so we're getting close to wrapping this up. Anything you want to say to anybody that's going through what you've been through, mainly to the people that deal with autism, all different forms.
Yeah.
And the parents, anything you want to say to the doctors and the teachers? Because, now we're in a different age. So the doctors and the teachers, they have more knowledge about what's going on. So they should be able to be more patient.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I also got to say this too, when you're in the field, when you're working with children, especially, patience is like the biggest thing, bro.
Exactly.
Patience, like kids don't know anything. They are just born. They are just here.
Right.
One day. Like everybody been through that. We all just been here, and then we all
there. Yeah.
Exactly. Then we all grew up into becoming the people that we are.
Yep.
But do you any wise words or any words of advice that you would like to say to those people?
Yeah, and I want to talk directly to the camera and directly to these people, because it is the most important thing I've ever had to say, and I'll keep saying it to people that I come across, is your disability, whatever you have, autism, anything that you've been told that you can't do something by somebody in your younger life, or your story relates to me, or any of those things, prove those people wrong. That's the biggest thing you can do, is prove those people wrong and show them. And parents, be patient. Don't believe the lies that these doctors are telling your children. Don't believe the bad things that the teachers are telling you about your children. You know your child better than anybody. Parents do. Doctors don't know your children better than you do. Please, please, please believe in your children. Believe in the children. That's the youth. That's who's coming up in the world. You know, look where I'm at today compared to what was happening to me when I was a kid. Your life can change and your life can be better.
And I just want to say, shit, I love you, James.
I love you too, man.
You know you my dog. I love seeing you at work. You always give me good energy. I love being around you when we, you know what I'm saying, we were close together at work.
Absolutely.
I know our job's kind of weird, but shit, I love you, and that's been another episode of What's Your Story. And I love your mom too. Let me get that in there. I love your mom too.
Yes.
She's a wonderful lady. And that's another episode of What's Your Story, and we out.